happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect, One Word Conversations. One Word Conversations is a relationship building, self-discovery conversation where I get to talk to people from all over the world. It is designed to help us look at our language to see how language causes us to connect and disconnect. Many times we can come up with all of the lovely words that we can think of and still find ourselves in a state of disconnection. But if we're willing to have a one-word conversation, then we can learn a little bit about ourselves, the person that we're speaking to, and build on that relationship. One Word Conversation is brought to you by IamWilliamBrown.com, a place to help you be yourself and live your life. One way that I spotlight what's available at IamWilliamBrown.com, the store, is our U-Cards. Our U-Cards are a part of the Beyond the Shell series of books. Beyond the Shell, Finding You Beyond What Protects You, and The Journey to Stay You. So I have picked the U-Cards for this conversation to set the intentions. I am curious, you are kind, and the quote card is, it's you I like. It's like every time I hear that, I hear Mr. Rogers, so go and see that. So this is the moment where I invite you to like, share, comment, ask questions, do all those things to let me know that you are also a part of this conversation. So our word this morning is moderation. And so with that in mind, I am going to bring in my guests so we can have a conversation. Good morning.
Hi, thank you so much, William. This is really exciting.
This is great. This is the moment where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
Yes, my name is Andrea Stephens. I am a neurotransformational life coach, and I got into coaching because I hired a life coach for myself through a series of events that I won't go into, and it changed my entire life. And I realized that life coaching was for me. And so I specifically help people, women in particular, moms even in particular, but I help moms who have left a strict religious organization and now don't know what to do. So that's where my focus is at right now for life coaching.
Wow. Well, that's a conversation right there.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe that will come up with our word.
Yes,
so how does the word moderation show up for you?
Yeah. So when I read the word, I was triggered actually back into my religious past, because that was something as a woman that I was hammered with, was modesty and moderation and be quiet. Wow. And don't, basically you're allowed to speak, but only what we want you to say and only what we want to hear. And so when I heard the word moderation, I was like, no, like it really triggered me.
Wow. It's really interesting. From my standpoint, how it lands for me is it's a balancing. It's like this reckless, crazy, chaotic life that if I don't have moderation, if I don't look for moderation in my life would just be so chaotic. So it's like I totally get how that can be oppressive in so many ways, but it's like it really doesn't occur to me that way. So that was
which I wonder if that's, I may be going out on a limb here, I don't know, but I wonder if that's because you're a male. Would that have anything to do with that? Just because from my perspective, and again, this is due to my background, like as a woman, I was quieted and was like caged and sat upon and was like, you be quiet. And when I need you, I'll pull you out.
Yeah. Look, I was considered and labeled a shy, quiet kid. Okay. And so I don't know if it was the environment that I was in that there was an expectation. There was so much going on. Let's just say that. There was so much chaos in our life. And there was a benefit that one of the 4 kids was quiet, you know,
Yeah.
because when there's so much going on, there was like one less kid I had to worry about.
Right.
And so, so with that, when I started, I guess, speaking up for myself and I
Mm.
guess finding my voice, then there was this moderation would come up that
Mm.
I could really try to figure out, okay, when am I supposed to speak? How am I supposed to speak? I'm not supposed to
Mhm.
yell. I'm not supposed to get too angry. All those type of things were coming up within my communication because of that label of the quiet, shy kid. Because it's like, okay,
Mm.
wait a minute, you're the shy kid. Why are you talking, right?
Right,
What are you
right.
yelling about, right? Type of thing. So
Mhm.
there was this measured kind of response to everything. So, you know, my wife is I don't want to say she knows nothing about moderation, but but I wouldn't go that far. But there
Right.
is there is a level of this yin and yang that
Yeah,
there's such a level of freedom that she has and how she shows up
yeah,
and everything. I am ginger ale, vanilla ice cream, I am just really
yeah,
level care and I know a little spice every once in a while, right?
yeah, right.
And just kind of
Okay.
go from there. So I don't know. So I'm trying to really embrace moderation as a
Mm.
way to kind of still have me moving forward instead of being restrictive.
Yeah, I love what you said about moderation being freedom, because I
Mm,
that is what I have found, leaving a religious environment, was that what they thought was helping us, be right, or whatever you want to call it, what they thought was helping us be godly and be spiritual, was actually caging that freedom
right.
that we have through actual true moderation.
Right.
And it is up to a person, it is up to the individual, you and I as individual people and all the sovereign individual beings out there,
Mm,
to have my definition of moderation. So where you might look at your wife and say, she doesn't know what moderation is, but that's coming from your perspective. And I know you were
right.
saying that tongue in cheek, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And that's
Absolutely.
coming from somebody who's a quiet person, right?
Right. Mhm.
Where I might look at your wife and be like, wow, she's quieter than I thought she was going to be, or something like that. But
Right.
I really feel like moderation is dependent upon like my own definition as my own sovereign being. I get to decide what moderation is. So when you try to
Right.
gauge that and let someone else decide what moderation is for you, it's not cookie cutter. It's
Right.
different for every single personality and every single person as a sovereign individual being.
Yeah. It's kind of, because I have, I don't want to say I have a religious background and what it's like, I don't know where that was going with that. But one of my, because of all the chaos that was in my life, right? One of my first career paths, and it was short-lived, but it was like I was very serious about it. And I still say that I have these tendencies, was to be a monk, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was this like, you know what? I just want to like pray my life away, right? I just want to
Yeah.
just kind of be in there and
Uh,
not have to deal with all this kind of stuff. That was my way
mhm.
of moderating my life, right? To kind of,
Okay.
hey, just really kind of be that. But so a number of reasons, and I think in, a quiet time, I realized that I was just using that to run away from my life, you know,
Mm.
and so it's like, okay, you can't like run away from your life. That's not your life,
Wow.
And so um, I realized that from my spiritual journey from from early age, I grew up in, a Baptist, home and then non-denominational and,
Okay.
4 years Catholic in college. I always say that it's like, oh yeah, I was Catholic for 4 years. And they're just, people just think that's hilarious, right? Right. Um, but, um, but the one thing that I've always had a challenge within my spiritual journey, and I think the more that I've kind of really embraced my self-discovery journey, then and and really embrace that it is also a part of my spiritual journey,
Mm.
is the concept of that we have, our personal relationship. Our spiritual journey is personal, right?
Yes.
But at the same time is dictated by what other people think about what your your personal journey should be. And it's like
Right.
all of these rules, and it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was talking to Jesus, and it had nothing to do with
Yes.
what you're
Yes.
talking.
Yes.
And it's like, so I
Mhm.
don't know who you're talking to, but
Right.
we good, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
and so really and I think that's how I
Mm.
believe moderation kind of shows up, because we know there's a knowing that
Mm. Yes.
when I go too far, I know. I don't need anybody to tell me.
No,
you
like
know?
there's that prick there that's like, William. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, what we doing right now, right?
Right.
So,
I love that. That's so there were so many things that I was trying to listen and really be a good listener, but then there
right.
was like things that were popping up in my mind, and then I was trying to listen and remember what I was trying to say. So
I have a
you got a
problem
lot of
with
good things there.
commas, even in my writing and my speaking too. I have a problem with commas. So it's like period,
Just
done,
kept
stop,
going.
so other people can go, and it's just like,
That's okay.
so. I totally understand. I
Well,
appreciate.
it's funny because it kind of meshed into like a one better question instead of two or three separate ones, anyways. But so my first question is, uh, like, what do you see moderation in religion? And then along with, I wanted to make a comment before we go down that path.
Okay.
I wanted to make a comment about talking to Jesus, which I call God, but they're kind
Right.
of the same thing.
Right.
But so I do talk to God a lot, and I didn't actually start talking to God. I prayed a lot in my religion, but I didn't start talking to God until I realized there was a personal relationship. And
Right.
you're right; there are outside people who are looking at you like, "What are you doing?" But when you have that peace and that knowingness, that is like, this is what God wants me to do, or God does prick you. There's been
Right.
times where God's like, I don't know if I would, I don't
Right.
know if I would do that. And I'm like, oh, okay, So I
Right.
really like that, how you talked about that personal relationship there too. Yes. And knowing, like, because I had a question in my mind that I had for a long time. It was just like, how do I know it's God talking to me? Like,
Right.
you don't see it. But after a while, I realized it was like, that's when I was peaceful and comforted, was when usually God would talk to me, whether it was like positive or negative, it didn't really matter. I felt peace and comfort. And I think that
Right.
is such a great definition of moderation, is just listening to God. Like,
Right.
there's so much going on around us, and people
Right.
have opinions and perspectives and advice, and those are all good to a certain extent. But it's like, really what it comes down to is, are you listening to God
Right.
or to Jesus, whoever you listen to?
Yeah. You know what? I totally get that. And where I have landed in the last couple years is that we are all unique expressions of God.
Yes. Yes.
And so when I show up as myself,
Mm-hmm.
God shows up.
Yes. Oh, I love
Um,
that.
and so
Mhm.
the challenge, right, in my life is, or the struggle is when I'm not myself, right? When I'm
Yes.
showing up of how people want me to show up or think I should show up and all that other kind of stuff. And it is really, and I think that's how what you were pointing to is like that prick. It's like, who are we? How
Yeah.
are we? What, we're moving in this direction. And there's in a scripture that I use, one of my, it's in the deck of my U cards, and I pick often, actually, and I'm kind of surprised it didn't come up within this conversation, but I'm saying it anyway.
Right.
But it's Jeremiah 1:5, where I knew you before you
Mm.
were in your mother's womb and before the foundation of the world. And it's like, that is the you that I'm inviting people to get connected to, because
Yeah.
that you was
Mm.
here before all of this, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so it is that type of thing. So our moderation is
Mm.
just kind of almost kind of flowing through this life
Yeah.
instead of this restrictive type of thing, because we're before all of this. So
Yeah.
it is just fascinating to kind of really embrace that and not tick off the people that think they know better, right?
Yeah.
Right? Or they know, I don't know, but
No, I love that.
religion is great and horrible at the same time, right?
Yes.
Right.
And I love that answer because I feel like religion replaces God a lot of times. They try to
Mm,
think for you, meaning well. Like honestly, I think a lot of them do mean well. But I had somebody one time, I was in a church and the pastor said, the best thing for Christians to do is stay out of Christian bookstores. And so
mm,
I challenged him after the service. I was like, what exactly does that mean? And he tapped me on the shoulder and he said, Andrea, I'm not talking about you, but most people don't have discernment. And I said, you
mm.
would have said that to anybody who walked up to you and asked that question.
Right,
Rachel, I'm not talking about you, but most
right,
people don't have discernment. And I just remember thinking, like, teach people discernment. Teach
right,
teach
right,
discernment. Don't teach rules and regulations. That's never ever going to get anywhere. And I love
right.
what you said about when you show up as yourself, God shows up. Because I feel that there's a verse that popped up into my mind when I first read the word we were going to do. Because I was like soaked, I don't know what the right word is, but like the Bible was just crammed down my throat, whether I wanted it
Mm,
to be or not. It was
right,
like, you're going to memorize this, whether you want to or not. So
right.
one of the verses that popped up was, let your moderation be known to all men. And
Mm,
just in what you were saying, like that verse became so clear to me. And it's almost like saying, let your relationship with God be known to all men.
right. Wow. Wow.
That was really a light bulb moment for me.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. So thank you.
I get that. And it's, there was, in the, in my way, in religious experience, there was, there's this word of witnessing. And I've always had a problem or a challenge with sharing my faith or witnessing or anything like that. And until I really got that, my witness is not just saying, "Hey, I know about Jesus. You should do." It is my
Mm-hmm.
life, right? How I
Mm-hmm.
live my life.
Yes.
How that that is the
Yes.
witness, right?
Yes.
And it's like it's not just it's not just really just like you said, the rules and the regulations and all that. And look, I think there is a need to study. And look, the one thing that I do is I like to learn stuff. So within my I guess my being, I want to learn more about something.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes me learning about something or getting clarity on something kind of gets in the way of me living, right?
Yes.
A thing,
Yes.
because I use that. That's how procrastination shows up for me. Anytime I want to procrastinate, all I have to do is say, I need to learn a little more about this.
Right. Yeah.
It's
I
like,
love that. Yes.
nobody's going to bother me because he's learning,
Yeah.
right? And it's like,
So funny.
really, I am
Yes.
procrastinating, right? I
Yes.
am not doing what I need to be doing
Yes.
right now.
Hmm.
And I think sometimes that's how we use our faith and religion and our things. We just
Yeah.
kind of, instead of the more that, like I said, the more that we're ourselves, the more that the scriptures will reveal themselves to us.
Yes. Yes. That is so true. I love that you said that because yes, in my religious background, it was like what they taught us was, we're going to cram the Bible down your throat. You're going to memorize it whether you want to or not, or we're going to flunk you in school, because we went to a private school, and everything was about the Bible, so much so that it made me hate the Bible. I
Hmm.
shouldn't say hate, but
Right.
very much dislike. I
Strong word
didn't
you
like
not like, right?
Yes. I didn't like it, but I had to pretend like I did. And then I felt guilty for not liking it, even though I felt like I should, but I didn't. And it was just this chaotic, like, mind game that I was playing with myself, because I was forced to do something where, had you just let me come to the Bible on my own because of my
Right.
own experiences in life, I probably
Right.
would have gotten there quicker and sooner than had you tried to
Right.
force me.
Right.
you know?
It is something. I want to, for some reason, you use the word hate. And so I want to kind of bring how I heard it. So it wasn't
Okay.
as harsh as you said, it's like, oh crap, I just said
Okay.
hate
Yeah, I
in the
did. I was
Bible and the same word. And that's like, that Christian label was like, we don't
yes,
say that, right? Right. Especially on
yes. I'm like
live
waiting for the
somewhere.
hammer to come down.
Right.
Yeah.
But for me, hate isn't the opposite of love.
Mm.
It's like right next to it. Hate is that most of the times when hate shows up for me, there is there was a love that I had, that there was
Mm.
this disillusionment that happened, that
Wow.
that's caused me to kind of now I'm like upset that I can't
Yeah.
love you the way I
That I wanted
want
to.
to.
Yeah.
And so it's that's how I heard it. And it's like,
Okay.
and the reason, and I think the opposite of love isn't hate, it is indifference.
Mm.
And so if you would have gotten to the place where the Bible was indifferent for you,
Didn't care.
you wouldn't be where you are.
Wow, that's a really this okay, I like that. Yes, because that's you're absolutely right. I want to like it,
Right.
but it brings back so many memories and triggers that it's
Right.
like, ugh.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
the the terrible thing about, and it's interesting what how moderation is bringing up all of, I don't want to say our church hurts, right? But it is really, it was kind of designed. I I'll just say this: most of the people that I've been hurt from in church, they meant well,
They did. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And it is, and so I can give it that grace. And so really, because of that, I am it causes me to kind of love them from a place that, you were only doing what knew to do.
What you need to do. Yeah.
um you know but there is another way. There is something, and I think, um I think the level of moderation in our spiritual expression, um I think it's something that I'm curious about, because let's go back to my monk tendencies that I have.
Hmm. Hmm.
That I was like, I'm all in, bad haircut, sandals. That's that's my life. You know,
Yeah.
that's not moderation, right? Right?
Right. Right.
Right? And
Yeah.
so there, in my mind, there was a feeling that I'm either this or
Or
that.
that. Yeah. Okay.
And there is so many ands in my life that
Mm.
that I think God, source, universe is inviting us to embrace, because
Mhm.
I really embrace the whole and complete. We are whole and complete.
Yeah.
But at this moment, at this current moment, I am not aware of my completeness.
Mm.
And it doesn't
Will
mean that
you ever be?
I don't know.
Okay.
Um, but I, but it doesn't mean that I'm missing anything.
Right. Right. You're just not
And so,
aware.
right. And it's so, the more that I live my life, the more that I show up as myself, the more that I believe that I get more aware of
Mm.
my completeness. And
Mhm.
so really embracing as much as me as I'm aware of will allow me to just kind of move throughout life the way the way it occurs to me, and just kind of and just
Mhm.
go from there, instead of resisting or trying to hide or trying to deny.
Yes.
Most of the struggles that I've had, that I've been trying to kind of shut off, this part about myself, this is an ugly part, or this is a terrible part, or I don't want to be
Right.
this, and that that's also, um, I think for me, moderation comes up in that. Yes, I can be
Yeah.
a jerk, but I don't need to be a jerk all the time. You know,
Right.
I need to
Yes.
have a
Yeah.
moderation to my jerkness, right? You know,
Yes.
and it's that type of thing. And the more that I am something and I'm not something, then I can show up fully
Yeah.
because I'm not stuck in one way.
I love that. Yes. The more that you are something and not something.
Right.
Yes. Wow. That's so I'm curious then. Do you find that there's a place to have an overabundance of like in your how do I say this? Like in your spirituality?
Right.
Is it good to not be moderate in your spirituality?
I think that is the question. I think, like I said, the more that I'm myself, I'm sacred, right? If
Mhm.
I see myself as sacred and what that means for me, then I am fully, um, within my spirituality,
Right.
right?
Right.
So the I guess the moderation, and so the moderation is, and I'm trying to get language to it,
Mhm.
is just how it shows up.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've heard the song, this little light of mine, I'm
Yeah.
gonna let it shine, right? So it is, um, how I shine my light and where I shine my light
Mm.
is is my moderation, is how I show up. If I show up
Right.
like a flashlight or a floodlight all the time
Yeah.
to anybody and nobody wants my light, right?
Right.
Right,
Right. Yeah.
type of thing. So,
Yes.
really, and I think you mentioned before about discernment, right?
Mhm.
And it's like recognizing that I am so bright, right? I am beyond brightness, right?
Mhm.
So I think we all show up that way. But because of discernment and
Mhm.
judgment, then
Yeah.
we can figure out how bright or how our
Mhm.
light shows up in the world and how
Yeah.
we interact with the other lights that
Yeah.
we connect with. And that's just,
Yes.
and the only way that we really have access to that is within our in our prayers and our conversations
Mm.
with the only, other person who really knows us
Source of
besides
light.
ourselves.
Right.
Right. Right.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Okay. So you said in our prayers and in our conversations was because yeah, I I had a thought there and it just escaped me for a second, but let me think. Let me go back. Yes, I went from prayer to conversation when I actually like found my own spirituality. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but when I moved from religion,
Right.
which was like, which I find a lot of religion, and this is very not moderate, how whatever the opposite of moderation is, it's
Right.
very immoderate, is most religions focus so much on what people think of you and
Right.
what people see,
Got it.
the physical things that they can see, whether that's clothing or language or whatever it is. A lot of religions focus on the outside, or like what people think of you. And when I was able to put that away for as much as I possibly could, and I went from praying to conversing with
Mm,
God. So there was several times in my prayers where I didn't say anything. I was just sitting there listening, and I
right.
would get an answer, but
Right.
most of the
Absolutely.
time, and this is again, like it does remind me of moderation, because we're so busy and we're so fast paced that yes, we pray, but we just sit down and we're like, help me have a good day. Shoot, I'm gone,
Right.
like, but there was no sitting there like, what is my good day? What does my good day consist of? What is a good day for me? What do you want me to have in my good day?
Right.
And yeah, just almost, I know you'll understand this as a coach, but just asking God powerful questions.
Right. Absolutely. And
Because he responds to the question that I ask, and if
right.
I'm asking, this is one thing I came up with in my own, was like, can I have a good day? I'm just using this facetiously, but all of a
Right.
sudden I caught myself saying, can I? And God was like, yeah, you can. I was like,
Right.
oh, may you help me have a good day? And God was like, yes, I may. I was
Right.
like, wow, that's such a huge difference in just
Right.
the can versus may. But like, we don't talk to God, you know,
Right.
powerfully enough, if you will.
Right. No, I totally get that. And it's like for me, that's where really saying to myself that I will have time to listen to the answers. Right?
Yes.
I
Yes.
can ask all the questions that I want, but
Yep.
am I willing to listen to the answers?
Yes.
And it's like that's what the conversation is. And I love how you said there's some conversations where, you know what? I'm just gonna sit quiet.
Yes.
What do you got today? Right? What's
Yes. What is it?
right. And it's
Yes.
like, yeah, I don't know what's going on here. So
Right.
I don't even know what to ask. But
Yes.
but
Absolutely.
I am just gonna sit here, right?
Yep. 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 And
Um,
there still is that sense of peace and calm, even in the
right,
unknowing
right,
of like, I don't know. I'm a little chaotic. I feel a little chaotic right now, but like
right,
there's just this comfortness that wraps around me that I did not have access to when I was in religion. Did not have
right,
access to.
right. There's this level of curiosity that I can have in my spiritual
Mm,
journey now that I felt that I couldn't have
yes.
before. It was
Oh,
like that's just what it is. And it's
yeah.
like, huh, all right, why
Yes.
am I
And
having
you
these
were like
questions?
scared of your curiosity. It was
Right,
like, am I allowed to even be wondering this? Like, and then you would say like, oh God, forgive me for even questioning,
questioning, right, or just even having it. Look, this is what I
Yeah.
say this within my coaching, and because I believe this, and like I said, I let people um, I tell people in my coaching that what I say is like seeds. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like there are some seeds that you can eat up,
Mm,
right? There are some seeds that you save and plant for later, right?
mm-hmm.
And there's some seeds that are just for the birds. So so however this occurs to you, you can do it, and I'm good with it. It's all up to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so what I say is that institutions protect institutions.
Mm.
People protect people.
Yes.
And so there are many times when within a religious institution, that's their concern. And
Yes.
so those are the rules, those are the things, that's all that kind of stuff. And they
Mhm.
lose the people.
They lose the people. Oh my gosh, I lived that. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes.
And
Yes.
and it's like the more that we can really,
Mhm.
the more that one, we can show up, then God can show up, then
Yep.
we can be there for each other, right?
Yeah.
Because then we become one, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
our unique expression of God is all
Wow.
there,
Yes.
right? Then we're in support of each other.
Yes. Yes.
And not the institutions and all the other kind of
Mhm.
stuff that we think we need to
Yes. And I would
protect.
say that ventures to go even into political parties, and
Absolutely.
it's not just religion, but there's so
Absolutely.
much that if people could understand that it's you as an individual person, not you as in like what association you're affiliated with,
Hmm.
that yes, the world would be a much better place. But it starts with you.
Right.
Like
It starts
that's the
with you.
problem. It starts with
Right.
you.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's really, most of the times people feel that that conversation around you, right?
Mhm.
It's like so selfish. I've had people say,
Arrogant. Yes.
I was like,
Ugh.
what is this self-awareness thing? Are you just, we don't need any more narcissists in the world. And it's like, well,
Right.
that's not the conversation we're having here, right?
No, no.
That is not
Yes.
the
I have,
conversation.
yep, I've definitely bumped into that myself with the clients that I have, and they'll say things like, and this is again how I was taught in my religion, that you do not focus on yourself. And I know now why they do that, because when you focus on yourself, there are things that pop up for you that are like, wait, this doesn't feel right. Something's not
Right.
right here. But
Right.
when you're plugged into an institution or a political party or whatever it is, you can't think for yourself, or
Right.
it becomes very difficult to have that moderation to be able to think for yourself
Right.
and say like, and like you said, have that curiosity. I love that
Right.
word curiosity, because curiosity is a very powerful state to be in.
Right.
But a lot of us are taught that curiosity is a negative state to be in, because we're questioning, and
Right.
it takes a village and we all have to work together, and I'm like, yes, and our own curiosity.
Right. How, it is, the Beyond the Shell, series, the first book of finding you beyond what protects you. And so there's a larger conversation is living beyond our labels, right? So we are protected by our labels.
Yes.
If I show up as a male, right? And I say male things, and I say, and I,
Yes.
and I kind of show up that way. I am protected and not protected by that.
Yeah.
But William doesn't show up, right?
Right.
Nobody cares.
No,
If I
no.
show up as a black male, then that's I can have, and I'll explain it this way. The main reason why I ask people to introduce themselves when they come onto the show is not just because sometimes I just like mess up names and all that other kind of stuff, which is true, right? And I don't want to do that for people. And so that's the one thing. But the main reason is that I want them to introduce to me the label that showed up for this conversation.
Wow.
Because whatever label, whatever way that they're showing up, I need to speak to that person.
Okay.
Because if I'm not speaking to that person, then we're not having a conversation.
Yes.
And it's like, so then within these conversations, other labels may show up, right? Because it's like, hey, this seems like a nice conversation. I want to contribute, right?
Right.
Kind of do that. And then I can see, hey, the mom label showed up, or the business owner showed up, or all these other labels showed up within this conversation. And then we know. And I think too often we miss each other because, one, we don't know who's talking, and we're not giving ourselves an opportunity to be in the conversation. And so and I think that moderation, that's why I go back to where we were in the beginning, there's a level of freedom in that.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Yes.
And it's like, more that I embrace that, it really allows me to just flow in my life. And it's like there were so many times that I felt that I wanted to, I tried to manage my emotions or manage, everything. And it's just like, no, just kind of, have discernment and judgment and just.
And I think surrender is a part of that too. You just kind of surrender. And that's part of the freedom, is when you decide you want to do something or have something or go somewhere or whatever it is, whether that's a business or a physical location, you plan that, and then you let go of that. And I think that's where moderation happens, is in the letting go of what you actually wanted.
Right.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, like what you said too there, but yes, I love the freedom. It's just there. It reminds me again of a verse in the Bible that I was told a lot, which is, what is it? Just escaped me. God's ways are not man's ways, I think is what I'm trying to say. I might be mixing that up, but this will work too. But basically, God's ways are not man's ways, which is like, there's a way that seemeth right to a man.
Right.
Whatever, something like that. But
got it.
Because it's an oxymoron. It feels oxymoronish that there would be freedom in moderation. But there is, and it's just the design of life. It's how God made us, or how intelligence made us to be, and then allowed us to be able to exist in our existence through moderation, which is freedom.
And we just we just feel that it's like this on or off switch. Well, that's how I've been. It's like I'm either in control or out of control, right? That's it. right?
Yes.
There either is moderation or not
Or not.
moderation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like there's
Yeah.
so many
There's
other,
so much more.
there's
Yes.
there's so much more. I
Yes.
think we can talk about this for hours. All right, but
Yes.
I really, like I said, I really think that really embrace that moderation is available, and freedom, and choice, right?
Yeah.
That
Choice. Yes.
we have that, we we have a say in the matter. And
Hmm.
so yeah, and I think anytime that we give that our say up to an institution,
Yes.
or anything else, then
Yes.
moderation isn't available to us anymore,
Yeah, it's gone.
right?
Yes, it's gone. Yes.
So, so
And I love, just to wrap it up, like, yeah, moderation is, it's personal. You
right.
cannot push moderation on another person. I
Mm,
love that. And I'm going to
right.
use that distinction in my own work. So thank you.
Right.
I did
Wow.
want to ask you real quick.
Yes.
I looked at your the shell stuff that you have on your website.
Beyond the shell.
Is that, what is it called?
Beyond the shell.
Beyond the shell. Yes.
Mhm.
Is that for kids, or is that for
Yeah,
like
it's
anybody?
yeah, it is what is called not just for children's books.
Okay.
And so it's
Okay.
like Bugs Bunny, right?
Okay.
It's like,
Got
it's like
it.
Bugs Bunny,
Okay.
the kids will love it, and the
Yeah.
parents will get, something out
They'll
of it
get
too.
it. Yeah.
Right.
Probably more than the
You'll
kids
get
will.
it.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Okay.
yes, I'm still kind of figuring out. I've had a lot of, you know, grandparents and parents
Mm.
of young children that will read it to their kids, because it's very, early reader friendly.
Okay.
And then, I've gotten reports where, the kids will read it back to them, and so they're
Okay.
like, it's amazing. So yes, so it is for kids, and adults will learn some. It's one of those things, and my process of writing it, so I'll share this,
Hmm.
was really, I'm writing another book, a non-children's book,
Okay.
called Living Beyond Our Labels.
Okay. Cool.
And my publisher asked me to how could I explain that to kids, to children, to
Mhm.
really, and I kind of allowed my younger self to really just tell how beyond our labels kind of showed up.
Okay.
And it's beyond the shell, because
Yeah.
I used, as I said before, the shell of being shy and
Mm-hmm.
being
Yep.
quiet.
Yep.
And that was me, that protected me.
Yeah.
And I also lost myself in that.
Right. Right.
And so I had to find myself beyond being shy and quiet.
Mhm.
And so that's the question that I'm asking people to do in the book, is
Okay.
really, um, it goes to ask the question of what makes you you.
Yeah.
And it just kind of takes you through that I can look at everything that's around me and that people say about me.
Mm.
But the punchline is that what makes you you is all up to you. So
Mm.
go be you.
Just go be. Yeah, I
Right.
love that. I'm definitely going to get some of that for my 8-year-old, because he's dealing with
Yeah.
that, of course, in
Yeah.
school, and
Right.
everybody's so different, and they all poke fun
Absolutely.
of each other, and I like that approach better than the don't bully approach, because
Right.
I don't think kids even
Absolutely.
know they're bullying. They have no
Right.
idea.
Right.
They're just protecting themselves.
Absolutely.
And,
Or who they think that they are. So they're
yes.
just kind of doing
Yeah.
that, and they're missing themselves.
Yes. Yes. I love that.
So,
Because I think it is important to accept other people, but I think it's more important to accept yourself. And in
right.
accepting yourself, you can then,
Right.
without even trying, accept other people.
Right. It's like that, and scriptures have come up without citing, so
Yeah.
I'm sure people will say, but it's like
Yeah.
love the neighbor as yourself, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I believe the reason why we don't love on the level that we are encouraged to is because we don't first love ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
And
Because
so
we're afraid to.
right.
Yeah.
And the more that we just love ourselves,
Wow.
then it's easier.
Yes.
There's an ease to loving other people.
Yes. You do it without even
Right.
trying.
Without even trying,
Yeah.
because that's all you are now. When you
Yes.
love
And when I
yourself,
made
that's
that
all you are.
transition myself of coming from a place of, I started life coaching from a place of um, bitterness and resentment. And it turned into, through doing my own work and just working with other people, it turned into a place of compassion. Like, so
Right.
now, like being able to come at people with a place of compassion,
Right.
there's no, it's just accidental. You don't do it. You don't purposely do it,
Right.
but anyway.
So wonderful. Well,
Yes.
thank
Thank you
you
so
very
much. I
much.
very much enjoyed this.
I was like, is there any last thing that you want to say? There's a lot of great things that you say, and there's a part of me that's like, let's just keep this conversation going. But no, it's like
No, that's
no.
okay.
But it's kind of go from there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Yes.
This
Thank you.
is this has been great. I hope you're able to stick around for a moment so we can say our full goodbyes in
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
green
And I
room.
do just want to say one thing really quickly. What jumped out at me from this whole conversation is when I put it down, I had to write it down, but you said, when I show up as myself, God shows up. And I really feel like that just embodies the entire conversation around freedom and moderation. I just absolutely love that. So thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you
Yep.
for being a part of this conversation.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Wow. No, it's like there's that moment that I have that, who knew, right? Who knew? You are moderation, right? The more that you are yourself, moderation shows up. There's freedom in being you. Sit with that for a while. And too often I allow the chaos of life to tell me things that are not the truth, right? And so what I got from this conversation is that the more that I show up, the more that I show up as myself, I can calm any storm. I hope this conversation has brought value not just to your day, but to your life. I invite you to reach out to me at IamWilliamBrown.com, where you can schedule your complimentary coaching session so I can help you be yourself and to live your life. Because the world wants you, the world needs you, but the world isn't waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you tomorrow on One Word Conversations.